Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video. Today we have with us another chair. Now this chair is from Flujo. It is one of their newest chairs in their ergonomic series. Now Flujo is known for their many accessories that help you make connectivity to your computers a lot easier, but I'm glad they're exploring the line of ergonomic chairs and tables and a lot of other accessories for you to improve your work setup. Now this is the Flujo Ayla, and from what I can tell, it's a really solid built chair. That's one of the first things that come to my mind when I was setting this up. Just the sheer mass of the materials shows how well this was built. Now, of course, I have not tested this out for over a year. This was just sent to me, but just assembling it, I can tell that all the parts were really rigid, made out of really strong plastic, and overall the construction seems very durable and very easy to assemble. Now on top of that, there's a lot of key adjustments that this chair offers that some other brands don't offer, so we'll get into all that in a bit. But first, a big thank you to Flujo for sending this out to me for this review. All the links to the products will be in the descriptions below. But let's start off with a simple unboxing. Now, first thing you'll find inside the box is a couple of different screws and a tool to help you assemble it all together. You'll also find a large printed manual that has all the instructions to help you set up this chair. Next up, you'll find both the armrests. Now these armrests are really well built, really solid, and there's a lot of adjustability to them, which we'll get into a bit later. You'll also find the entire backrest in one piece. This backrest does come with an adjustable lumbar support and of course height adjustments. And the entire piece is pretty big to take out of the box, so do be careful when you're doing so. Next up is the seat pan, which comes in a mesh, which is really comfortable and really cooling to use. You'll also get a rather large headrest that once again looks really well built and really solid. Now last but not least, you'll get the wheel structure, which includes the 5 arms and caster wheels. Now setting this whole chair up couldn't be easier. You just follow the instructions, or you can follow this video, which might or might not be according to the steps. I really didn't know because it was quite intuitive to set this whole thing up. First of all, I flipped over the chair so that it was easier to assemble the arms. Now it's pretty obvious which side is left and right, so once you got that figured out, you can simply slot it into the slots and screw it in with the appropriate screws. Now once that's done, this is probably the more difficult part, which is to align the backrest and the seat pan and connect them together. Now this might take a few tries, but once you get it kind of aligned, just put a couple of screws in just to keep them centered, and then go ahead and screw in the rest of the screws. Now earlier I did already assemble the legs and the casters. It's simple, it's just pretty much pushing all the wheels into the holes. The only thing you have to do is also put in the piston, the right side. And once the chair is all assembled, you simply place it on and gravity will do the rest. Now the whole setup process isn't something new to me. I've set up a lot of chairs, so this came very intuitively. But if you need help, there's the very helpful instruction guide for you, or you can scan the QR code for more information, or just follow the steps that I just showed you. But now that we've gotten the chair all set up, let's talk about the ergonomics and how this chair actually is. Now first of all, let's talk about the overall comfort of this chair. Just a broad summary of this whole chair. I think the lumbar support is pretty aggressive. So for some of you who do not necessarily like lumbar support, this might not be the chair for you. But for those who really like lumbar supports, and I know many of you do, this might be something that really hits the spot. I mean, it really cups your lumbar really well, and there's 2 different stages of adjustment so that you can increase or decrease that pressure. But other than that, there is a lot of adjustment on this chair, and let's go ahead and start from the top, which is the headrest. Now with this headrest, you're able to adjust the height of the headrest, so that really depends on your neck and your overall height and basically how you want to have it adjusted. The other thing that you can do is also adjust the angle of this headrest, which is obviously very important because that gives you somewhat of a micro adjustment to adjust the angle, and of course the slight height adjustment to see where that curvature of the headrest really hits it well. Now this headrest has a very strong plastic frame and has a mesh material, so it's really breathable, it really adapts to the form of your head, and it's overall pretty comfortable. Now moving on to the backrest. This whole backrest can be adjusted in height, and there's a very simple locking mechanism at the back to allow you to secure it in the right position. Now there are 3 stages to this height adjustment, so you get the lowest, the middle and the highest, and once you're happy with that, you can go ahead and lock it in place. Now this of course is something that's really simple. but at the same time really useful because I've tried out some chairs out there that do not give you this locking mechanism, and every time you move your chair or lift it up by accident, you kind of screw up your whole height adjustment because you accidentally adjusted it higher or lower. So this locking mechanism is really thoughtful, and I think it's a great feature to have, although I would say the design of it isn't exactly the most beautiful, but you know, function over form. Now next up, let's talk about the lumbar support, which is a really huge piece of this backrest. Now this lumbar support only has 2 stages of adjustment. You get a slightly less aggressive setting and a more aggressive setting, and that's it. There isn't a micro adjustment to this. There isn't some fine-tuning way where you can fine-tune this lumbar support. You either get it at a very light pressure or a strong pressure. But then again, the mesh material on the lumbar support gives you a bit more flexibility in the amount of pressure you want to put on it. Plus the seat pan adjustment for the depth does give you a bit of play with how much pressure you want to put on your lumbar. Now the one downside of this lumbar support is that it's attached to the backrest, which means the height of the backrest also affects the height of the lumbar. So say for example you're someone who has a longer torso, this might be a problem for you because you want the lumbar support low, but at the same time you want your headrest to be as high as possible. So you might have maxed out the headrest height and you've already set the lumbar to the lowest or the entire backrest to the lowest setting, but you might not get that sweet spot where you get both of these adjustments stretched out to suit your body length. So this is one limitation, but at the same time I don't think many of us would face this issue. I think this chair is suited for the average person. I'm about 1.69 meters tall, 86 kilograms heavy, so take that as your gauge. It suits me pretty well, although I do feel that that lumbar is a bit aggressive and a bit too much for me. Now moving on to the seat pan. This seat pan is really comfortable because it's in mesh, a very breathable material, great for tropical countries like Singapore here, and it also cups to your bum a lot better, and at the same time it's a more durable material that's not so easily stained, it's not so easily frayed or anything like that, so I would really take a mesh chair over a fabric chair any day. This is a very durable mesh made by a brand called DuPont, and it's a very familiar brand because it makes a lot of different textiles and different materials that's being used in our daily lives, and it has a long history of making these very strong and lightweight materials that are also high performing and eco-friendly. So it's great that Flujo has integrated technology like this into their materials and made it a lot better. So the one thing I always look for in chairs is whether they have a good seat depth adjustment. And in this chair, I would say it fits more of a medium to large person. If you're someone with really short legs, this might not be the chair for you. I do feel that it's on the slightly larger side. Now, of course, let's talk about the adjustments of this chair. I've talked about some of them, but at the same time, there are a couple of settings that you can set this to. The first one is, of course, the seat height adjustment, which I don't think I really need to talk about much, but I'll leave the height range on the screen here. But more importantly, let's talk about the reclining of this chair. Now, the reclining of this chair is pretty decent, I would say. There is a locking mechanism, so you might have to shake it a bit to get it to click, but you get to lean back all the way into this really comfortable position, which is really great for relaxing. And other than that, there are a couple of locking stages that you can play with. You can have it upright if you're looking for a more focused position. You can have it midway back if you are doing something a bit more relaxed, like watching some shows. And if you just want to take a break and, you know, rest all the way back, you can do that as well. Now, the spring tension on this backrest isn't adjustable. More high-end chairs have this adjustability, but you can't expect much from the price point of this chair to have all these features that the high-end chairs have. I am a pretty heavy guy, and this spring does support me really well, so you don't really have to worry too much about that. If you're someone that's super light, you might not be able to push this chair all the way back. Now, the other thing that's built into this chair is a couple of these what I call shock absorbers. Now, they aren't exactly shock absorbers, but there are these hinges around the backrest that gives the backrest a bit more of a play, so it isn't too rigid and it kind of forms to your posture a bit better, because everyone's built a bit differently, so the way you sit or the way your body is built is a bit different, and this chair gives you a bit more playroom with that, with these hinges and these passive springs. And these are the details that I really like about designs like these. It's really unique and they've really put in extra thought into it. They could have just built a solid backrest, but they decided, you know what, let's go into it deeper, let's research a bit more and find a way to make it better and not add too much extra cost or extra complications into it. So I really appreciate that, and I think it's a really great part of this design. Now, of course, the armrest does come with adjustments. You have the height adjustment, the depth adjustment, so you can move it forwards or back, and of course the side-to-side one, giving you the flexibility to adjust the angles of this armrest. The only thing that it doesn't have is a lateral left and right kind of adjustment, but that's not too major. For me, I think this is a good width, but for someone who is smaller, this might be a bit wider for you. So take my size as a bit of a gauge to see how wide this is. You can always turn the armrest inwards and get a more slimmer position. That's already up to you, but of course, in this way, you don't get the full armrest. But like I said, it's pretty alright for me in this position, and I really feel comfortable sitting like this. So lastly, let's talk about the warranty of this chair, which of course is a big concern to anyone who's buying a new chair. And thankfully, Flujo gives you a 12-year warranty, which really speaks a lot to their confidence in their product and their design, and gives you one less thing to worry about. I'll leave all the information for the warranties in the descriptions below, so do check them out for yourself. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys have found this helpful and informative in exploring this new chair, the Ayla chair. A big thank you to Flujo for sending this out to me for this review. But once again, I'll leave the product links in the description, so check it out for yourself. But thanks again for watching. If you guys have any questions, do leave it in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer it. If not, like this video if you like this, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.